Come with me. When a Millionaire CEO found a little girl sleeping at a bus stop, what he did next changed both their lives forever. Julian stepped out into the frigid night, leaving behind the warmth of his heated seat and security. His leather shoes clicked against the concrete. There, under layers of worn-out hoodies and torn jeans, lay a girl who couldn't have been older than 10. Her skin was pale, her cheeks raw from wind, her dark curls were matted, and her small hands clutched a grocery bag filled with nothing but a pair of socks and an old paperback. He knelt beside her, careful not to startle her. "Hey, are you okay?" The girl flinched, then slowly opened her eyes, green and alert despite her exhaustion. "I'm just resting. I'm not supposed to talk to strangers," she whispered. Julian nodded. "I get that, but no kid should be out here like this. Come with me." His words weren't a command, they were a lifeline. Inside the car, Julian kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror. She sat rigid, refusing food, eyes fixed on the window. Her name was Malia, 9 years old, no address, no parents she was willing to talk about. The silence stretched between them until she spoke. "You're not going to take me to the police, are you?" Julian hesitated. "Only if you want me to, but I was thinking we could get you some hot food first." She nodded slowly. At a 24-hour diner, they sat in a corner booth. She devoured the grilled cheese and soup like it was her first meal in days. Julian watched, feeling something unfamiliar stirring in him, something that hadn't awakened in years. That night, Julian dropped Malia off at a women's shelter. He promised to return. Driving home, he didn't sleep. He remembered a time when he had been invisible too, back when he lived with his aunt in a rusted-out trailer park, back before the scholarships, the venture capital, and the stock options. Malia reminded him of the boy he used to be, small, scared, and overlooked. The next morning he went back, holding a paper bag full of toiletries, clothes, and food vouchers. Malia greeted him with a cautious smile. She was wearing a donated jacket 2 sizes too big. Julian knelt down again, eye level. "I want to help, but only if that's okay with you." She didn't answer right away, but she didn't say no. He asked what she wanted more than anything. She looked at the ground. "A bed that's mine, a door that locks, and maybe school." Julian spent the day making calls. A lawyer, a social worker, a friend from a nonprofit. He wasn't sure why he cared so much, but something in him demanded he do this right. By the time sunset returned, he had secured temporary guardianship through emergency court approval. The world moved fast when you had influence. Julian brought Malia home. His high-rise apartment was pristine, sterile, a place for deals, not children. She marveled at the view but didn't speak. He gave her a spare room, fluffy blankets, soft lights. "Is this really mine?" she asked. "Only if you want it to be," he replied. Later that night he heard her whispering softly through the door, "Thank you." Malia didn't speak much the first few days, but Julian didn't press her. Instead, he kept showing up, breakfasts, check-ins, soft questions. Gradually, like thawing ice, pieces of her story emerged. Her mother had disappeared 2 years earlier, likely trafficked, though Malia wouldn't say it out loud. Her father had never been part of the picture. She'd bounced between distant relatives and overcrowded shelters until she simply stopped trusting adults altogether. Sleeping at the bus terminal had become her routine. Safe enough, at least compared to other places. Julian listened. He didn't interrupt. For the first time, Malia had someone who didn't dismiss her pain or try to fix it with platitudes. One night she handed him the tattered paperback she always carried. Inside the front cover was her mother's handwriting. "Never stop believing you matter." Julian swallowed hard. That was all he needed to know. The transition was not seamless. Malia woke up screaming some nights, afraid of closed doors. She hoarded snacks in her dresser and flinched when Julian raised his voice during business calls. Julian, for all his intelligence, was unprepared for parenting trauma. He brought in a child psychologist. He read books. He learned to lower his tone, to offer options, not commands. Slowly, the walls between them began to fall. She still didn't call him anything, not Dad, not Mr. Reeve, but when she fell off her scooter and scraped her knee, she reached for him instinctively. That moment meant more than any word. Julian used his connections to get Malia into a prestigious charter school. He bought her uniforms, books, everything she needed. On the first day, she clung to the doorframe. "I won't fit in," she said. "You don't need to," Julian replied. "You just need to be you." That first week was hard. The other students were polished and privileged. Malia's speech was rougher, her confidence brittle. But one teacher, Ms. Alvarez, saw something in her, intelligence wrapped in resilience. By the end of the month, Malia was staying late for chess club and writing stories for class. The change was slow but steady. She was finally growing into the girl she was always meant to be. Julian's company, ReeveTech, was in the middle of acquiring a massive AI startup. His calendar overflowed with investor calls and shareholder meetings. but he found himself staring at Malia's school art projects during board meetings. His CFO noticed. "You've changed, Jules," she said. "You used to chase numbers. Now you pause for paintings." Julian shrugged, but the truth was undeniable. He had changed. Malia had changed him. He started asking bigger questions. About the ethics of automation, about employee wellness, about outreach to underserved communities. His board members grumbled, but Julian no longer sought their approval. He had a new compass now. After a rough day at school, one involving bullying and a teacher who called her disruptive, Malia shut down. She refused dinner, didn't speak, and disappeared the next morning. Julian panicked. He called the school, the shelter, the police. Nothing. He searched for hours, retracing old steps until dusk. Eventually, he found her sitting at the old bus terminal, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "I don't belong in your world," she muttered. "You shouldn't have picked me." Julian sat beside her. "I didn't pick you because you fit. I picked you because you needed someone. And now so do I." Tears welled in her eyes. This time she didn't run. That night had shaken Julian. For the first time he felt truly powerless. He realized that love, real love, wasn't about control or solutions. It was about presence, about showing up even when the other person pushed you away. He also realized how easily she could be lost again, not just physically, but emotionally. So he changed. He rearranged his schedule, brought in therapists who specialized in trauma recovery, created flexible work-from-home policies for employees with children, starting with himself. What began as a search for one lost girl had become a search for a new way to live. In the weeks that followed, Malia became more open. She talked about things she never thought she would, the way her mother used to sing, the fear of being forgotten, the guilt of surviving when others didn't. One evening after dinner, she looked up from her mashed potatoes. "Is it okay if I call you something?" Julian's fork froze. He nodded. She smiled shyly. "Can I just call you Jules?" It wasn't Dad, but it was real. It was theirs, and Julian wouldn't have changed it for anything. They built their lives around small rituals. Saturday pancake mornings, story time at night, walks in the park with their adopted rescue dog, Astro. Malia began keeping a journal. Julian started volunteering at the youth shelter where they first met. They argued sometimes, over chores, bedtimes, missing sneakers. But it was a home now, not a stopgap. And with each passing month, the apartment filled with more laughter and less silence. Julian no longer saw her as a temporary responsibility. She was family, his chosen family. The story leaked through a friend of a friend, a billionaire CEO adopting a homeless child. Soon, headlines exploded. Talk shows called. Journalists camped outside their building. Julian tried to shield Malia from it, but kids talk. She came home one day with a crumpled tabloid in her backpack. "They think I'm your charity project," she whispered. Julian looked her in the eye. "They're wrong. You're not my project, you're my purpose." That night they turned off their phones and baked cookies instead. The world could wait. But the attention brought scrutiny. Critics accused Julian of exploiting Malia's story for image points. Anonymous voices online questioned his motives. His stock dipped temporarily. Some board members urged him to step back from the spotlight. "You're risking the company's reputation," they warned. Julian fired back. "If this company's reputation crumbles because I gave a child a home, it was never worth anything to begin with." And with that, he stepped down as CEO. The media storm had taken enough. It was time for something deeper. One day, Malia asked to speak at her school's assembly. She stood on stage in her school uniform, nervous but firm. "I used to sleep on benches. People walked by me every day. One man didn't. He didn't save me, he saw me." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "I'm not a charity case, I'm not broken. I'm just a kid who needed a chance. And Jules gave me one. We gave each other one." The speech went viral, but more importantly, it reached other kids who needed to hear it. Inspired, Julian and Malia launched the Bench Project, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting homeless and at-risk youth. They provided shelter, mentorship, and education access. Julian spoke at universities. Malia helped design the outreach programs. They visited shelters together. Their bond became a blueprint for what healing looked like: messy, beautiful, enduring. What had started as a bench at midnight was now a beacon for hundreds. Years passed. Malia, now 17, stood at a podium in a sleek cap and gown. Her curls were longer, her voice more confident, but her green eyes still sparkled the same. Julian watched from the front row, tears in his eyes. She spoke again, this time to a larger crowd. "We live in a world of locked doors, but sometimes someone gives you a key. Jules gave me one, and now I carry copies for others." The audience rose. The applause was thunderous. That winter, while walking home through the city, Malia noticed a girl, small, shivering, curled up on a bench. She paused, Her breath formed clouds in the night air. Then she stepped forward. "Hey, are you okay?" The girl flinched. Malia smiled. "You don't know me, but I used to sit just like you. Come with me." The girl hesitated, then nodded. Malia led her home. And just like that, the cycle of compassion began again. Sometimes all it takes is one person to stop and say, "I see you." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful real-life inspired stories of hope, humanity, and healing.